Hi, everyone. Thank you for joining in. We are back with yet another integration office hour sessions. Today, we are gonna have a quick overview of Flogo and the commercial open core offerings that are built on open source project Flogo, followed by a few demos, and then we'll open up for questions. My name is Rishikesh. I'm part of integration product management team. And today I'm joined by Vijay, who heads Flogo Enterprise engineering team and is also contributor to the core open source project Flogo.
Yeah, hello everyone. Yeah, thank you for joining.
So agenda for today's session will start with a quick introduction to Project Flogo, and then we'll have an overview of the open core commercial product offerings that we have built based on Project Flogo. We'll go over a few key new features that we have added in these offerings and also quickly look at some of the common use cases. Then Vijay will take over and walk us through a few demos before we open up for questions. Some of you might have already tried out Project Flogo, also have built applications using Project Flogo. So Project Flogo is an open source ecosystem designed for developing and building event-driven applications. It is built on a powerful event-driven programming model based on triggers and actions. And we'll talk about triggers and actions as we go into the session. It also gives an ecosystem of event processing actions. So there are 4 actions that are part of Project Flogo ecosystem: flows, streams, rules, and micro gateway. And Flogo gives you an internal channel for chaining these actions together. It also gives you ability to bundle all the application dependencies into a single lightweight application binary. Project Flogo gives you a common contribution model so that you can leverage and also build activities and triggers. And it also provides a simple interface to extend the event processing capabilities of the Flogo framework. Flogo is the most popular open source integration project today on GitHub. We have more than 150 project contributors who have added more than 800 open source extensions in the form of activities and triggers. And you can go to flogo.io and look at Project Flogo showcase to see the number of activities and triggers that are built by the community. As I said, Flogo is designed for building event-driven applications, and it's based on this notion of triggers and actions. So each Flogo app typically consists of 1 or more triggers and 1 or more actions. Triggers are responsible for connecting to external sources, consuming events, and the handlers that are attached to triggers, they dispatch those events to actions for processing those events. And there are different types of actions that are available in Flogo system that you can use. For example, flows is a type of action, and within flows, you can have set of activities to process an event that is consumed by a trigger. With that introduction to Project Flogo, let's talk about the commercial open core product offerings that we have built based on Project Flogo. We've got 3 variants of these commercial offerings: TIBCO Flogo Enterprise, which gives you flexibility to build Flogo apps and run them on any container or serverless platform of your choice. You can also develop Flogo applications and run them on TIBCO Cloud environment in a managed iPaaS environment offered by TIBCO Cloud Integration. And we have sorry for the, I'm going to mute everyone so that. Just give me a minute. Okay, sorry for that. So as I was saying, there are 3 commercial offerings, open core offerings that are based on Project Flogo. Flogo Enterprise, which gives you maximum flexibility in terms of deployment. You can deploy Flogo apps on any container platform or serverless ecosystem of your choice. Using TIBCO Cloud integration, you can develop Flogo apps and run them on a TIBCO Cloud integration environment. We have also launched Flogo on AWS Marketplace for a flexible consumption-based pricing model. All these three variants, they offer same functionality. It's just that depending upon how you want to consume Flogo and how you want to deploy Flogo apps, you can choose a specific product offering. May I request everyone else to go on mute? There's a lot of noise and I'm unable to mute everyone. Okay, thank you. Added in Flogo Enterprise as well as Flogo apps in TCI. So we have added GraphQL support in Flogo. We announced it in TIBCO Now Chicago. So this gives you ability to build flexible and efficient customer-focused experience APIs using GraphQL. You can import a GraphQL schema and implement server implementation in Flogo apps to create GraphQL APIs. In the latest release of Flogo Enterprise, we have also added support for gRPC, which is a cloud native computing foundation project. So using Flogo apps, you can now implement gRPC services using the protocol buffers that describe a gRPC service. We have also added support for Swagger 2.0 to give you ability to import Swagger specs into Flogo applications and generate REST API implementation using the Swagger specs. We have also added support for native S3 and API gateway triggers in the AWS Lambda ecosystem, apart from the default AWS Lambda trigger that's already available in Flogo Enterprise. So this gives you ability to, while developing applications, you can bind S3 and API gateway triggers to the Flogo flows. Apart from that, we have also been working on adding support for various container and serverless platforms for running Flogo apps. So we have added support for various serverless container services, including Amazon's Fargate, Google Cloud Run, and Azure Container Instances. We have also certified Flogo on Docker and Kubernetes-based platforms. So you can choose to run Flogo applications on any Docker or Kubernetes-based platforms. And we have also added support for the Pivotal application service that's part of Pivotal Cloud Foundry platform. In Flogo Enterprise, we've also added built-in connectivity. So Kafka, MQTT, Avro, and TIBCO Cloud messaging connectors, along with database connectors such as PostgreSQL and MySQL are available out of the box in Flogo Enterprise. In addition to that, we have also added support for application properties and ability to externalize application configuration and integrate them with configuration management tools like Consul, AWS Parameter Store, Kubernetes config maps, as well as Spring Cloud config. And we have also added integration, out-of-the-box integration with Prometheus for monitoring. We have also got application metrics API, which you can use to integrate with third-party monitoring solutions. And we've, in the latest release, we have also added ability to write custom Go code so that you can integrate with your choice of monitoring solutions. With that overview of key new features, let's quickly take a look at some of the use cases where you can think of using Flogo. So Flogo can be used to build ultralight microservices and serverless functions, which consume low computing resources if you compare with Java or Node.js-based application development frameworks. As Flogo is designed for building event-driven applications, you can use Flogo to implement event-driven architecture patterns and build loosely coupled distributed applications. With the capabilities that we have added around GraphQL and Trace, you can use Flogo to implement APIs, experience APIs focused on customer experience. With the flows capabilities of Flogo, you can also use it for orchestrating interactions between distributed microservices as well as serverless functions for implementing end-to-end business flow. So Flogo also gives you flexibility to not just orchestrate APIs or microservices, but also orchestrate serverless functions like AWS Lambda. And using the wide range of connectors that are available in the form of triggers and activities, you can use Flogo to implement real-time data integration pipelines and leverage the Flogo capabilities for data mappings and transformations. And you can also leverage the project Flogo capabilities to run Flogo apps on edge devices, as well as to machine learning at the edge. So these are some of the use cases where you can think of using Flogo. So with that overview and introduction to Flogo and the open core offerings that we have built based on Project Flogo, I now want to hand it over to Vijay so that he can walk us through some of the newer capabilities that we have added in the product.
All right. Yeah. Thank you, Rishi, and thank you everyone for joining. So I will quickly, let me share my screen. From the scratch, which involves actually GraphQL. So let me just quickly go to the edelivery.tibco.com. So here, so once you go to the edelivery.tibco.com, I would advise to go to the 2.7, which is the latest release of Flogo Enterprise. So there are a bunch of things that we ship or the host there as part of this this particular bundling. So one of the thing is the core Flogo Enterprise software, which you could see here, and we also actually support DB service and 3 DB connectors or database connectors, which are part of the Flogo Enterprise BOM. So I will quickly, assuming actually I already downloaded this zip, all you need to do is actually you just need to extract this zip on your local machine. So once you extract this zip on your local machine, you would see the structure something like this on your machine. So here you have 2.7 folder structure, a data folder, services, and the tools. Now, quickly go over that. The data folder has a bin directory. So all you need to do is, in order to start your Flogo Studio locally, you can just go to this bin directory and start the studio. So which I have done here. So if you notice here, I went to the bin directory and just say run studio.sh. Obviously, it's on the Linux on Mac, but there is a run studio.bat too if you want to start this on the Windows. So this will actually start the development environment of the Flogo web studio on your local machine. So you can go to this URL and it will actually get you here, right? So basically this is actually a starting point for the Flogo Enterprise where you can go and create apps here. So let's create the app using the GraphQL. So the use case I'm taking here is I want to actually call these APIs. So this is the third-party service that we usually typically use to integrate or the make a call to. So there are 2 APIs on this service. One is the post, where actually it lists all the posts for all the users. So where the user ID 1, user ID 2, all the users. And there is another API, which is a users and user ID. So based on that user ID, it gives you information about that user. So basically these 2 APIs. So what we are going to do as part of our application is we are going to implement this into the GraphQL in the GraphQL, so that now one API would actually will make these 2 calls and combine the data that is written by these 2 service calls into the single. And at the same time, being a GraphQL, you can now request for the very specific data or the request for the very specific data from the request, rather than actually getting the entire data back from these 2 services. So To do that, what we need to do is actually you just go here and say create a simple app. So I say it's a Flogo demo. So it will actually get here. So there are two options. One is a create option, or if you already exported app in previous versions of the Flogo, you can import it here. So when you go to create there, as Rishi said, actually, there are two options, Flogo and GraphQL. So what you could do is I can start from the GraphQL. So in order to do the GraphQL, I need a GQL file. So if I open this GQL file, which I built for this particular use case. So let me just quickly open this GraphQL demo file. Let me open this with a better editor. Okay, so this is a very simple GraphQL GQL or GraphQL schema file, or the schema for the use case that I'm trying to actually build here. So obviously it has a query. So in query, there are two methods actually. One is the get post, where it actually for a given user ID, it actually retrieves all the post for that user, as well as the data about that user. And then there is just a get user API, which actually for a given user ID, it actually fetch the user details. So these two, and obviously its input and output all are modeled here as a GraphQL schema. So if you notice here, now all I need to do is actually go and pick this GQL here and just say upload. So if you notice that actually we then auto generate all the artifacts, flows, and a trigger based on that configuration from that GQL configuration file. So this is the GraphQL trigger, and these are three set of things that we already implemented. So we saw that there is a query. So query has a two field, get post, get user. So each of these field or each of these operation translates into the one flow action. Since we have query as well as a mutation, that's why we ended up with the three flows in this particular application. Now it's just fairly simple. If you notice that all the flow input outputs are pre-configured for you, so you don't need to actually do any manual configuration here. So this is just a starting point. So basically what I did was I already constructed the app in a such way that I can actually make a call, the REST calls to that two APIs or two endpoints to get the details, and then actually return that detail back when that particular endpoint is called. So if you notice here, all the mappings are already pre-configured by me. Same thing with the get users too. So get user also calls the get user API for a given user ID, and then it returns back the data. Now this is fairly simple. So if you go here, you will notice that we have notion of trigger settings and the handler settings that that Rishi talked about. So triggers, each trigger has one or more settings or the handlers, and handlers are actually associated with the actions. In this case, it is a flow action. So if you notice here, it has the path on which we are actually starting the GraphQL server is GraphQL. And obviously each handler says that, hey, it's a query operation and I want to actually do the operation for get user method that is defined as part of the GraphQL schema. So same thing with the get post. If you go here and look at here, it will just only changes the resolver for, which is a get posts. So that's about it. Now, obviously,
Vijay, sorry to interrupt. So
yeah,
each flow here is acting as a resolver for the each
each
operation
field,
that is defined.
each operation, each operation in the GraphQLs, yeah.
Correct.
So
And there
as
are
I
two
said,
types of operations: query and mutation.
Mutation, yes.
So query is used for querying the data, and mutation is used when you want to make changes to the data. Is that correct?
Yeah, that's correct.
Perfect. Thanks.
All right. Now, before building the app, right, you might want to test the flow locally before actually building app to just ensure that it is working as intended. So that's where what you could do is you can actually use these testing capabilities. So I'm using this, let's say, I just quickly want to make sure that this flow is working fine for user one. So what I all need to do is just go to the launch configuration in the tester and just provide the one as a user ID. So if you notice that now it is working because it now made a call to this particular service with the user one, and it returned me the data, which is for that user. Now you can do the same thing for the other flows too, in just to make sure that this flow is working fine before you build the binary. Now there are two ways in which you can build Flogo applications. Either you can go here and say build the binary, which is appropriate for your platform, or you can actually use the CLI. We also provide the command line CLI tool as part of the installation, where you can actually build the binaries using the CLI. So if you want to follow that approach, then you have to just export the app for today. And once you export this app, you can use this app to build the binary. Now, what I did was for this particular demo, the first setup of demo, I already built the binary. So binary is already built. And you can notice that is already downloaded to this location. So I will go here quickly. Okay, I will start that binary. Okay, so you can notice that now the Flogo engine is started. One thing to notice here is that the start time for the engine, if you notice that engine is really started quickly, it took only 21 milliseconds to start the engine. Now it is starting, it is listening on port 8081, and the endpoint is actually GraphQL. So typically to test the GraphQL, what I use is the GraphQL bin. So it's a very nice tool, a graphical tool. To actually test your GraphQL endpoint. So let me just point it to my endpoint, which is running on local machine. That is my endpoint. So if there's a valid endpoint, it will just enable this use endpoint button. Okay, now if you go to the schemas, if you notice that now actually it introspected my running engine and is able to actually fetch the schema that from which we actually build the Flogo application. Now the easy way to start is you just want to quickly, let's say start with the get user. So what I want to do is I want to just get the users. So I say get users, then I say user ID. Let's say user ID is 3. Now user ID is 3 because the user ID is supposed to return an object. It has a bunch of attributes. So he said, okay, not only I want to, what I want to do is I want to get the username and probably email ID. So let me hit that. So you can see that, okay, now it went to the, it made a call to the Flogo application, and it managed to get only these two fields. So if you notice here that call indeed reached here, which internally made a call to the user 3, and obviously it did the filtering of the attributes, and what it eventually returned back is just a name and email. Now you can probably go and say that, oh, okay, I want to probably need a phone number too. So I can do that. Now you can see that I get the phone number. Now that is for the get user. Now let's try with the get data. So let's say get post. Now I say user ID is, let's say again, the same user ID, which is 3. Now I say, okay, I want to get, let's say, title, and there is user itself is an object. So I can get some more data like a name and phone and title, and I want to just get some post IDs and body. Okay, so these 3 information. Okay, so you can see that for that particular user 3, these are the set of posts. So these are the number of posts that actually posts that particular user has posted. So you can see that it returned that object as an array. So these are the set of posts. You can also go and change a few things here. You can add additional stuff here, like let's say website. Then you can see that now you will get the website information. So this is a simplistic demo of a GraphQL. What you can do, you build a GraphQL schema and you just uploaded that GraphQL schema and just implement that that into the Flogo, and you just build the binary, and you are able to actually start and able to get the required data using the queries. So this is the simplistic first part. Now, typically you would like to probably get some more metrics about your application, right? So you want to see how my API or how my flows are doing, or maybe I want to see the execution time for the activities which are part of the given flow, and so on. So what we have is actually we have we have enabled the REST APIs to actually collect the metrics. So in case you want to integrate or you want to read the metrics, same metrics, and push it out to some third-party systems, right? You can use those APIs. So the way to access those APIs is to just set this simple environment variable, which is a Flogo HTTP service underscore port. I will start it on the 777, and then it's the same app. Okay, so you would notice that actually it started the management service on the port 777, but obviously the metrics collection is not enabled by default. So all you need to do is actually do the post call on the one API in order to enable the metrics connection. So what you can do is, let me start the Postman. Okay. Okay, so Postman had some issues. Let me see if I can use some other app. All right, so basically all you need to do is you just make a post call on 7777. Okay, so it says actually 200. Now, if you go back here, you would notice that event collection is enabled. Now, let me send few more requests to this particular application. So I go back to the GraphQL bean, and maybe I change few things here. Okay, so it's a post ID, body, title. Okay, I think it's pretty much covered. Let me get the ID2. Let me send few requests to this particular application. So let me go back. So you can see that the requests are received by the engine. Now, all you need to do is go back. Here, and there is an endpoint which says metrics flows. That is a get. Okay, so you can see that the data is retrieved. Let me copy this and just put it here at the better place. So you can notice that for each flow, right, it says that, okay, so since we called just one get post 5 times, it says that, hey, it's a 5 times started, 5 times completed, max execution time or execution time for a given flow. Now, let's say I want to go deep and I want to see which activity took how much time. So basically what I can do is I can go back here for this particular flow. I say, copy this flow. So you say flows, flow name / activities. Okay, my bad, something is not right. Okay, so flows. So this is now the reply for the metrics that we already collected for the activities for a given running app. So if you put here, you will see that, hey, activities. So for this particular flow name, which is a query post, you can see that the set of activities are being executed, and you can see the max execution time and mean execution time. for all the activities which are executed as part of that execution. So this is pretty simple. Actually, you use this API. Obviously, as I said, you can enable, disable this capability dynamically. So basically, if I say delete on the same app metrics endpoint, it will automatically delete that. So let me just go here and I just say delete. All right. So this is done. Now, if I go back here, you can say that metrics collection successfully stopped. So this is the capability, one of the capability where you can go and actually collect the metrics for the activities and flows which are executed as part of this engine. But this is okay. But what about, let's say, I don't want to use this capability, but maybe I want to use, let's say, Datadog as maybe that is what I'm standardizing on. And maybe I want Flogo engine to actually push those metrics to the Datadog so that I can actually go and view those traces and the metrics in the Datadog. So let's try that. So the easy way to do that is what we have is actually, this is the Datadog, a simple Datadog listener that I built. Obviously, it is not part of out-of-box Flogo Enterprise, but I'm planning to actually push this out on the public GitHub so that people can reuse it. So it's very straightforward and simple Datadog integration. So what all it does is actually, I'll just quickly show you. So what it does is actually it relies on the eventing mechanism that we introduced in the engine. So it listens onto the certain flow events and the activity events. And on every such event, it actually just publishes the metrics and the trace to the Datadog. So that's a very simple, integration for say. Now let's say I want to use this integration into my app. So what all I need to do is actually, I just need to take this package is what it's a Go code actually. So this directory is what is called a Go package. So I just take it, copy it, and I go to the installation. So in this case, actually, my installation is in this particular home. So obviously I go here in the 2.7 lib extensions. SRC. So you see that currently there is nothing. So all I need to do is actually just paste that item here, that package. And the other thing I need to do is I need this go.dep, and I will show you what it really contains. So basically I will paste here. Okay, so this go.dep is actually just a file which indicates build process to include this this particular Go package or Go custom Go code into the binary whenever the binary is built in this environment. So if you notice, all it has is just these two lines. One is the main, which is a package, and then other is the import, which is the name of the package. Now, obviously, if this, assuming this particular package or this code is hosted somewhere on the public GitHub repo, you don't need to actually manually copy that code, custom code, and paste here. All you just need to do is just add the import package here in the deps.co. Like, for example, let's say it's on the GitHub. So I say just github.com. Let's say it's under my name. So that's my repo. And let's say integrations and Datadog. That's about it. So you don't need to manually copy that particular folder package into this directory. All you just need to do is just make sure to point to the public GitHub repository so that our build process will obviously download that. But obviously there are some side effects of that is your build process will be slow because now build process is going to make a call out and pull the latest of that library, latest of that code into the current build process or the current build. And obviously sometimes when this process is going to always pull the latest version of this Datadog integration or custom code. So it is quite possible that there are some breaking changes happened on the master. So typically I would advise people to actually take the tagged version of that code and put it here so that you are sure that you are always, we are build process always using the local copy and it is not going out and pulling the latest, which might have a breaking changes. Okay, so go back to this. So let's, for time being, let's add this. All is done. Now what I'm going to do is I'm going to use the CLI to build the binary this time. Obviously, I can go back to the studio and build the binary again, but in this case, I'm going to use the CLI. So you can find the builder CLI in the bin directory. So these are the three for three platforms. We actually provide these CLIs. So let me open a command prompt here. So Darwin, so it's a build -f, and I just need to point to the file that I just exported from the web UI. So it is in the downloads. Okay, and I want this binary to be created under very particular directory. So I will go to demos, SR, copy path. All right, that's it. Now let me run this. So obviously it will pull, okay, so something went wrong here. Let me see what it is. Okay. Okay, so it seems like it does not have these packages. Okay, let me do this. Okay, so I'll try again. Okay, now it seems like it went through fine. Okay, so let's go to the directory again. Okay, obviously it has both now. Okay, so I will go back here. So the thing here is now, in order to integrate with the Datadog, you need to provide some connection parameters. So what I have done is my Datadog agent is running locally on my local machine. Obviously, it is actually supposed to connect to the Datadog cloud service. So Datadog cloud service is right now is the account which I'm using right now. So currently, obviously, there are no services or the no metrics available. Now, what I want to do is I want to connect to this and just push the Flogo metrics, Flogo application metrics to that particular application. So what all I need to do is I just need to do source. Okay, now what I did as part of this step is actually, I will open this source env.sh. So I'm setting two environment variables just to actually integrate with the Datadog. A is actually is I'm starting the HTTP service, monitoring service. And B, actually I'm passing some configuration which is needed by my listener in order to connect to the local agent, which is running on my machine. So if you notice here, it is pointing to the local host, which is agent, which is running on local host. So typically Datadog supports two sets of ports. One is for the tracing and other is for the metrics collection. So what they call for the metrics is what they call is the doc.stats and the tracing port is 8126. So this is what I already set. So I said that. Now let me just start my app. Okay, I just want to make sure that I'm using the right app. Darwin Flogo, yes. Okay, so if you notice there now, that it started. So if you notice the logs, it says that, hey, Datadog metrics collection, it is registering. It started. Yeah, so engine started, actually, it realized that there is at least one listener to listen to the event. So it started the event publisher. And then you can see that the Datadog metrics collection is started too. Now what we can do is, let's send a couple of requests from this UI. So let me send a couple of requests. Okay, so I sent quite a few number of requests here. Now let's go back to the Datadog web UI. All right, so it will take some time to refresh or reflect that into this. Yeah, so it's still not reflected. So ideally, it should show me the name of the application here as part of a services, using which I can actually start tracing. Let me see if the metrics is enabled. I can go to the matrices. So basically the metrics that we add is Flogo, no. So both are not enabled yet. So let's wait for that. So obviously agent is running. Yeah, let's give few more minutes for it to reflect in this. Okay, perfect. Now you can see that the Flogo GraphQL demo, the application that we were trying to run, right? So it started showing up here now. So I can go here and I can see that these are the graphs for that application, and this is the get post, right? Because that's the method, or that's the method that we called, or the handler action flow that we called as part of our test demo. So you can see that it received 8 requests, and the average latency is 182 milliseconds. So if I go here, these are the all 8 invocations of the traces for that particular flow. I can go and say view traces. So you can see that out of these 170 milliseconds, the invoke post took 88, and the invoke user activity took around 80.3 milliseconds. So obviously this is the trace. Now let's quickly go and see the metrics. So what we have done is we added what we call is the two matrices. One is the flow matrix and other is the activity matrix. So first of all, let's take a look at the flow matrix. So in the flow matrix, I can say, hey, for this app and this, let's say I want to see all the completed and web flow names. So let me see the sum of reported values. Okay, so let me see. Okay, no. Yeah, so there is one 8 you can see here. So it's very far end. Let me just move my, yeah, here. So you can see that the 8 completed instances for that particular flow are being actually reported here. Now you can actually do quite a few things here based on the flow name itself and status like that. So there are quite a few things that you can do with the Datadog to just get the actual metrics about each flow, as well as the activities which are executed as part of that flow. So that's about it. So the idea here is to actually to show this integration. So as you could see that you can take any third-party integration custom code that you want to integrate with, or you can write your own, integrate or put that into the Flogo installation, build the binary, and then just able to integrate with those third-party systems without actually being provided as out-of-the-box capabilities. So that being said, I'm pretty much done with the demo. Obviously, one of the things I would like to highlight here is that basically from the extensibility point of custom code is one, but actually we have tons of list of supported connectors that are supported on the Flogo. So basically you can go to this single page where you get the all list of connectors which are right now certified on the Flogo Enterprise. Obviously, some of them are actually premium versus some of them are standard. So you can reach out to Rishi if you have you want to use some of those.
Yeah, and we also have a master sheet where we have list of all TCI connectors, including BusinessWorks, Flogo, and Skype.
Yeah, and other thing is actually in the showcase, right? The Flogo.io showcase, you would find a bunch of uh, uh, OSS or the Project Flogo contributions here. You can also actually easily pull or use these contributions into your Flogo Enterprise Studio. All you need to do is to install these contributions or just go to the extensions tab and just click on the upload, and you just point to the GitHub repository where that contribution is. And when you say upload, import, it will actually just install that particular contribution in your local environment so that you should be able to use that contribution in your applications. All right, so with that, I'm done. We are open for
Fantastic.
questions.
Thanks, Vijay. We've got 10 minutes, so we have ample time for questions. So if you have any questions, please feel free to unmute and ask.
So as we said, right, this is probably the very basic and first demo, but definitely in subsequent office hours, we are going to cover more detailed demos related to the containers as well as serverless platforms, TCI too, for that matter. Yeah. So
just a quick question on Flogo OSS. Is there a reason why Enterprise is still considered upstream of open source? Is there any plans to either bring them together or make OSS the upstream?
Yes, there is a plan. So Flogo Enterprise adds certain value add features, but still uses the open source project as the core. So it doesn't use a variant of open source. And we do have plans to make both open source UI as well as the Flogo Enterprise UI consistent.
Thank you.
Did I answer your question correctly, or were you asking something else?
Yeah, no. I just want to know when we're going to see open source built from the same stream as Enterprise. They are different products.
They are not. They are the same product. Flogo Enterprise uses the open source project as the core. I know there are certain differences in the UI and sometimes the way you develop applications, but we are working on making them consistent across and interoperable.
Okay, thanks.
All right. Any other questions?
Well, do you think we'll be seeing support for processing XML within Flogo at any time? Because a lot of customers ask the ability to consume and support XML-based technologies.
Yeah, at this point, we are dealing case by case basis. Having said that, Vijay did build one activity to convert XML into JSON. Is that right, Vijay?
yes, so that activity I think is already listed here. Let me see. Yeah, there is activity that I built which actually converts the XML into JSON, obviously, but not other way. But yeah, there is activity, but I'm not sure if that is the use case. But obviously, I believe you want to and fro kind of a conversion from XML to JSON and JSON to XML.
Yeah.
Definitely, there is activity to convert XML to JSON. We can definitely.
Okay. I mean, the question is, I've got a number of activities and triggers that I've written. Do I need to translate these into any new format? I believe that we've changed the format of activities and triggers. I assume none of the stuff that I've written before will work on the later version of Flogo.
Sorry, I didn't get the question.
Yeah, so I'm wondering, I've heard that there's been quite a bit of change to the Flogo triggers and activities, the ones that I've uploaded onto the GitHub. Is there any documentation that walks through what I need to change to get these working on the latest?
Yeah, so basically a good starting point is if you go, we already migrated some of the TIBCO contributions to the newer APIs and newer structure. So if you go to the project Flogo, yeah, so all the activities here are kind of migrated to the newer format. So if you go to any activity that you want, let's say, let's take a simplistic log. So yeah, this is the new structure now. So you will notice some differences, like activity JSON is now the descriptor.json. Then obviously this is probably the simplistic one. So we can take a bit complex one is a Kafka. So obviously metadata go is actually the new concept that is being added. And if you open the activity to go, it is actually, it's significantly changed than what it used to be. And obviously the changes are good because it addresses a couple of the issues that we had earlier with the earlier design. So definitely you can take a look at this. And if you still have any questions or you need any help, you can always place them on the Gira channel and we should be able to help you.
Okay, great. And the user contributed activities and triggers, how do we submit those to be included into Enterprise?
So basically, if it's a user contribution, we expect them to actually maintain their own contribution somewhere. All they just need to do is install those contributions in appropriate environment, a development environment, so that they can use them in their applications. Mm-hmm. So basically, as far as the user contributions are considered, if let's say customer built their own, they're supposed to actually maintain that at their end. Actually, we are not expected to actually them to contribute back to the Flogo Enterprise. But obviously they can use that, but obviously they have to maintain by themselves.
And what about for TIBCO staff? Can we get them included into Enterprise?
Depending upon the contribution. So obviously, if you have we really see the value in including that particular contribution in the Flogo Enterprise, obviously it has to go through the proper channel. So definitely, if you have any suggestions,
we can definitely work on that. In fact,
we can definitely work on that.
That Mark has built are useful, and we did share them in some of the customer conversations. So yes, we can definitely look at that.
Yeah, I mean, one is specific is the WebSocket support that I've written. Both the trigger
definitely, yeah, we will see actually. So ideally, the way we are doing right now is that ideally we would like those activities to be contributed to the project Flogo contrib repo. And once it goes there, then we can actually pull that into the Flogo Enterprise because those contributions are kind of a TIBCO maintained. So yeah, we are sure that actually they will be there, right, in the long term. So obviously we have to work out on these details in order to get some of the contributions which are developed by the third party or the other developers into the project Flogo contrib, and then from there into the Flogo Enterprise.
Okay, great, thank you.
All right, if there are no further questions, we can have 3 minutes back. Thank you everyone for joining.